Are you a parent of a teen, or are you the parent of a child very quickly moving toward teen, young adulthood faster than you can even imagine? I know, especially one of our four, we felt like she was just, born at the age of 35. There was just something so mature about her. She just seemed ahead of her time. She seemed ahead of the game as far as emotions and maturity and confidence. And honestly, it was a little scary because I think we're all, I don't know if you can relate to this, but I thought I knew it all as a teen. And I honestly thought my parents were idiots most of the time, just so completely out of touch, so completely behind the times. They had no idea, no understanding of what I was going through because when they were teens must have been ages ago and everything must have been totally different. Yes, it was different, but the guy girl stuff still remains. It's only more imperative these days, not less, that we take the time to help train our kids, to help talk to our kids. I wrote a whole chapter about this in Great Love for Life. And although I didn't want to turn off young people to reading this, one of the things that prompted even writing the book in the first place was an experience that I've spoken of with a wonderful new friend I had who was a recent divorcee. And she was struggling through such a hard time, so many emotional issues, and she had young teen kids. And then seeing her emotional carnage when she did jump into a relationship with a man who honestly took advantage of how vulnerable she was. And it was just heartbreaking, tragic, and so difficult because she was such an easy target with everything she'd gone through, with all the hurt she'd been through. And I couldn't say I've been in your shoes, but I could say what's ahead is looking really dicey. And it did end up being a train wreck of a situation. But it made me realize we as parents so often have to struggle with the same issues. There's a lot of single parents. There's, maybe you have a mate who's unfaithful and you're struggling with whether or not to divorce. Maybe you have a mate who is into pornography, who is, has an emotional attachment to somebody at work. There's so many issues that can be such a problem. But how are we going to communicate with our young people? What are we going to tell them? They probably aren't going to bring up the subject themselves, are they? I start out with something in Dear Parents, which is chapter 29 of Great Love for Life. It says, why is it there are advertisements admonishing parents to talk to their kids about drugs, alcohol, and smoking, but not about premarital sex? Why is underage drinking or driving against the law, yet underage sex is a personal choice? Why is it this personal choice can lead to a publicly funded abortion? Talking to teens can be difficult. Don't I know it? As a parent, you must choose to talk and keep on talking. If the connection with your teen is severed, spend time mending the rift. Maybe an apology on your part or several is in order. Find something you both enjoy and let the conversation flow. This may take time. And guys, we were all there. We all had parents, or at least hopefully we had somebody who cared more for us than we possibly did for ourselves when we're teens, because we go through this stage of, I'm invincible. I know much more than my parents do. A lot of that is just a lack of life experience. And there's also that sense when you're a teen, everything is so new. Every heartbreak, every insult from, friends, or every issue that they have to face, it just cuts so deep because it's a new life experience. And we can't blame them for that. But how can we keep the communication lines open? I remember my oldest son, as I've told you before, he was in the middle of his best friend being his girlfriend at the time I was first writing this. And it was so hard to talk to him. He probably saw me as the enemy. He was, protective of this wonderful friendship, and he probably felt like, a parent is a killjoy. She's going to come along and she's going to ruin this. She's going to make her feel uncomfortable, the girlfriend. She's going to say something or do something. And I did have ground rules. This is point A. Don't be afraid to have ground rules in your own house. Um, I don't want to go into this too deeply, but there was an issue of, I said, "You guys have been best friends. That's one thing, but now you are admitting I like you. You like each other. I want her parents to know when she's at our house how things stand. If you guys are in the room working on some stuff, the door remains open. Um, None of this, going out or coming over to each other's house without at least letting us know. It was just get your stuff done before you can get online, school, and then you can, communicate. And it was so hard to instill rules because generally rules just don't sound fun. But eventually, it was really kind of cool. It was a hard journey, but eventually, even the other parent came to me saying, "Thank you," because it would be very hard to get her to get schoolwork done if, it was just open season on phone all day or computer all day or, communicating or over at each other's house all the time. There had to be some kind of parameters, some kind of structure, because they were both very young. And you can bet your bottom dollar, whatever, that I was not the most popular person in the house. My husband was not the most popular person in the house. Talking about these things to them, to teens, it was embarrassing. It seemed we were trying to control their lives, to ruin their lives, all of that. But some things you need to keep in mind just to help preserve their sexuality, help preserve their emotional strength, help preserve their ability to trust. In many ways, they're not going to want to admit this, but as I said, every experience is brand new. And just 2, 3 years later, they were both looking back and going, "It was hard at the time. I hated you at the time, but thank you." And it is difficult to get through that time. We're not called to be our teens' best friends as much as we want to remain, in communication, open with them. If we try to do everything and bend over backwards and let them run the show, we're not giving them a sense of stability. Have you ever heard of the story? I hope this doesn't run out. Um, I don't want to compare teens to children, but have you ever heard the study they did of children out on a playground and they had no fences whatsoever when the children would stay way toward the middle just out of safety. But then they put up the fences and the children could explore further. They would go right up to that boundary because they felt safer. They felt protected. That's what we need to realize with our young people. We're not trying to be a killjoy. We're not trying to keep them from socializing. There is a lot that we do need to share with them, though. One of the important things is to be honest about your own successes and failures. For me, I could share with them about being, madly in love with the guy in college that I dated. And I had not been experienced in dating or having boyfriends a lot. And I thought this was it, but I at least had my boundaries set. And when we did break up, more than about a year and a half later, when we finally called it quits, I didn't have a bunch of regrets. Now, I thought several times during that relationship, I thought, this is it. This is the one. This is the guy I'm going to marry. But there were other times there were red flags. So it helps to share with them. It helps to be honest with them. One final thing, if you can't deny yourself bad habits. Now, it's so common nowadays for the parents' love life to be the one that is dicey, that maybe, you have a live-in you have somebody you're dating and you're going to bed together and it's obvious. I am not trying to be judge about this, but you have got to set your standards for your young people, or you may be kind of leading them to think it's no big deal. There's no repercussions. That's not true. Their young hearts can be sliced and diced and wounded and betrayed, and it makes it really hard to believe that there is someone who will stick, someone who will stay, someone who will not betray your trust. So let's try to preserve that. And even though you may not be the most popular person in the house, it's important to have the tough discussions. I have a list here, set that curfew, meet their friends, interview their dates. I'm not saying, sit down and shine a bright light in their face and say, so who are you? What are your intentions with my daughter? But talk to them, get to know them. There's a sense of your family, the ones who love your young person, your teen, your daughter, your son the most, kind of are a frame for that masterpiece. Think of like if just a sketch of Da Vinci or Michelangelo was just thrown on the studio floor, to the untrained eye, you may have no idea how precious that is because it's just there. But when you meet the one they're going to date, when you meet their friends, when you establish a relationship with those other young people, you're showing this is a precious person. We were here before you. We see their worth, and you darn well better see their worth, or you're going to have to hear from us. Yes, there's a protectiveness. Yes, it can drive your teen crazy, but it also lets them know loud and clear, you are loved beyond belief. I'm here for you. I care more for you than I care what you think of me at this moment. I choose to love you so much that I can lay down whether or not you like me at the moment, because I am willing to be your parent, loving but firm, and help them understand. You don't want to have, like, I know Karen Kropp of Positively Waiting has a wonderful way of putting it. You don't want to develop the, ivory tower syndrome of like Rapunzel, and you protect them from everything and they never experience it. But if you're having these difficult conversations, whether they seem like they're listening or not, talk to them, keep talking, read this book with them, go through this with them. I would love to hear about that. I would be so willing to get online with you to, I just accidentally finished that, to get online with you to help, sorry about that. Shut up. Me. I'm so sorry, you guys. How aggravating. So I would be happy, just trying to say, I would be totally happy to go over this with you, to chat with you online, to answer questions, to have a Zoom meeting with you, other parents, maybe you and your teens. I mean, however you want to do it, I'm here for you. This may seem like a lot to chew on, but there's much more I'm going to put in here. I tried to make it succinct and to really, boil it all down to the important parts. So just know I'm here for you. I would love to hear your questions. Please put them in the comments. Let's connect. And I just speak God's greatest blessings over you, and for you to have the moxie to be the leader in your family, to be the parent, loving but firm, to help establish worth in the way your child looks at themselves, and help establish some boundaries so that they understand how they should be treated. They would know their worth. So God bless you.